100 days into the war, and things have greatly transformed in the Eastern European region. Like anybody's prediction, Putin is cruising, while Ukraine's prospect of sticking to the geopolitical map goes fading with every passing day. Having got a grip on this reality, Joe Biden is now leaving Ukraine aside and shifting focus on other issues that may offer him a space to intrude upon. And the new issue that the US got into anchors around Africa. Reading between the lines, two countries in Africa have decided to alienate USA for Russia. It seems pretty easy to see how Biden simply walked into Africa and gifted away two strategic areas to Russia of all countries. It's a card that only Biden can play. Hi and welcome to TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Atul Mishra, and if you haven't subscribed to the TFI Global channel yet, hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon to receive all the latest updates. And please install our Apple and Android mobile apps. The link is again given in the description. Let's begin. The United States has mastered the act of sanctioning. Just for a time killer, if we randomly pick up a country from the globe, it will be a matter of debate whether the selected one has got under the ire of the United States or not. Countries and regions subjected to US sanctions stand aplenty. In the listicle of things that the US tried to impinge on the world, sanctions happen to be the bigger name of all. The US entrance into the Eastern Europe war arena was greeted with cheers by a larger part of the world who rooted for peace. But anyone with a basic nous of history of US involvement in wars would have equated the same to a catastrophe. And with the completion of 100 days of the war, history stands vindicated as the US involvement in the war has dragged Ukraine to a point where Zelensky stands inches away from uttering the tragic words, "I quit," to Putin. After enjoying the mess of things that he made in Ukraine, Biden is now not bothering much about the quagmire that the former comedian Zelensky is deeply embroiled in. With every passing day, Biden is voicing pessimism about Ukraine, which stands in contrast to his initial belief of Kiev winning the war. Currently, with no greener pastures to ignite a crisis, Biden has decided to lock his eyes on Africa. And minding the recent happenings, the US president does have the reasons to worry. Africa has been under the orbit of US influence for a long time. The weak-kneed approach from successive US administrations ensured interminable famine and poverty in the drought-stricken terrains. But now, Africa is building up a habit of speaking up against the US. This was evident with many countries in Africa asking the US to lift the sanctions rounded upon Russia. Now, the real meat of the whole affair stands in Ethiopia and Eritrea. During the Obama administration, the excuse for US wars of aggression shifted from the war on terror to the so-called humanitarian wars to stop genocide and mass atrocities, which were then championed by top Obama officials Samantha Power and Susan Rice. The US and NATO destroyed Libya and began the relentless bombing of Syria to stop genocide. Further going, the US pinned blame on Eritrea and Ethiopia for hindering food aid and committing genocides in the ongoing war in Tigray. What happened later was anybody's guess. Sanctions. Sanctions poured in torrents on both Eritrea and Ethiopia, and the two countries had good reasons to believe that there could be a new Syria in the making. But with the Ukraine war, politics within the African countries have taken a tectonic shift. Moreover, Eritrea, bordered by Ethiopia in the south, Sudan in the west, and Djibouti in the southeast, has an extensive coastline along the Red Sea region. Russia and Eritrea have shown interest in deepening the interstate dialogue and economic cooperation, and it was well evident with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov waxing eloquent about the economic cooperation between the two countries. Rumors are also afloat on how Russia could use the ports in Eritrea to extend its tentacles of power to the rest of Africa. Going further with the gung-ho strategy espoused by Putin, blockade and bombing in Ukraine has made the food supply chain go tatters. African countries overtly depend on the wheat from both Russia and Ukraine for their survival. Putin saw a red herring in the crisis and condescended to African demands for food by supplying enough to many countries, including Senegal. This happening didn't match the US line of interest, and Washington wasted no time in blowing the whistle to alert Ethiopia and Eritrea about the perils that they may encounter should they decide to walk along with Russia. And in the grand scheme of things, scrapping reliance on the West could be no good for Africa. But Eritrea and Ethiopia have decided to view things only from an angle that will help them in the longer run. Simply put, the two countries have ditched the US for Russia. It's a feat only Biden can achieve.